Hi, my name is Mariam, and today I'll be talking about the media and their influence. Even though media sometimes benefits us and informs us about specific things, whether it's social, political, or it's scandals, it also has its negatives. And some people may argue that the media and their advertisements don't influence them in any way. But if that were true, then why would companies be spending millions annually just to create advertisements? Media also has a strong influence on how societies receive and react to all events, and this to some extent controls societies and their way of thinking. Even though these companies' intent or their purpose is to inform people, they manage to manipulate how people receive the message or the certain information they're trying to get across by using subliminal messages or just appealing to their emotions. And by media, I don't just mean television or the news. It can also be the radio, movies we watch, TV shows, and so on. Also the music we listen to, newspapers, and all that. And it's known to be, the media is known to be the most used tool to advertise and to manipulate. So some of you may ask, how does mass media impact an individual's mental health? Well, it does affect your mental health and has psychological consequences, causing people to be emotionally unstable and suffer depression, eating disorders, and pressure to meet ideals set by the media. The larger audience that is really affected by the media today is mostly young people, and how the media choose to portray different groups, religions, or races affect the minds of people and largely societies. One great example of how larger groups are affected by this, or how Muslims are presented in the US and Western media, whether it's in Europe or wherever, since the 9/11 incident. Ever since 9/11, Muslims have only been portrayed in negative stereotypical ways and referred to as terrorists, and this affects people's minds by making everyone think that any individual who's Muslim is automatically a terrorist, and it makes people scared of them. And if a woman is wearing a veil, it scares them off, and that's all due to how they're presented in the media. And this is because of manipulation within the media of 9/11 and how the Muslims were portrayed in the media since 9/11. Everyone now thinks that all Muslims are terrorists and they should be treated with hate and should be loathed. And after this incident, they started coming up with the term Islamophobia, which is a biased perception of dislike towards Islam, and it results in acts of violence and terror. And false portrayals of Islam largely resides in the Western media due to them not being as educated as people anywhere else in Middle East or whatever, because the most popular religion there is Islam. So instead of trying to be educated about the religion and display the truth, they choose to go along with stereotypes. And all of that is what led to Islamophobia even existing. This just proves how ridiculous the media have become to manipulate people enough to create a phobia of a religion. An example of how dangerous this would be is actually a recent event that happened 2 months ago in New Zealand, where this guy targeted a Noor mosque and another mosque called Linwood, and he killed 50 innocent civilians. And within these 50 people were children who weren't even old enough to know what hate means. And these attacks were just a result of him being an Islamophobic, and because he was unable to accept the belief of someone else's, so he just chose to go off killing them for no reason. And due to these horrific acts pursued by extremist, people are brainwashed to believe that Islam is the equivalent of terrorism, which is not true. Terrorism knows no religion, and goes back to one's actions, but sadly the media brainwashes this idea of terrorism being associated with Islam. By doing so, they're spreading Islamophobia and are generalizing all Muslims based on one idea. And also, a news outlet that's very popular and proves this to be true is Daily Mirror. They chose to headline the alleged shooter by the angelic boy just because he's a white Caucasian male. But if it were anyone else, if it were a person who were Arab or whatever, they would label it as ISIS maniac, as they did to an article before. There was a shooting in Orlando and this guy shot up like a gay club, and they labeled it as ISIS maniac just because he was Muslim, which means nothing. So people may think that the media is just the media, but all these stereotypical claims said by the media directly affect those targeted, such as Muslims. They will always have a constant target on their back due to false accusations and will always be feared by everyone. Being a Muslim and a Middle Eastern myself, I would know how it feels to have someone give you a disgusting look just because of your religion.
Do you think the media is purposely targeting a younger audience rather than an older audience?
Yes, I do think they are, because older people are wiser and they have experience and they know everything and they're wise enough to not fall for the media. But as for younger people, they're so dependent on media, whether it's from movies or social media or whatever. They're so dependent on that it's easier for the media to manipulate them because they're still young and they're not wise enough to be aware of what's going on.